Hey there, curious history buffs! Have you heard the legend of the ancient race of giants of Nevada? Yes, I'm talking about actual giants that allegedly lived thousands of years ago. Now I know what you're thinking. Giants, really? Well, archaeological finds add fuel to this debate too. And here's where it gets interesting. Lovelock Cave was indeed used as a burial site, and some of the remains found there are much larger than average human bones. The cave is by the Humboldt Sink in western Nevada. It was once part of an enormous lake, which eventually dried up, leaving a number of smaller ones, including the Humboldt Sink. The cave became the home of the Site-Ka tribe. According to the legend, these red-haired giants were so big that they had to be buried in the cave itself. Indeed, later on, archaeologists discovered 8 to 10 foot tall skeletons. This legend started to unfold when a mining engineer named John T. Reed talked to the locals in 1886. Once Reed saw the cave, he knew he was onto something. The news spread soon, but the cave was attracting another type of attention too. The deposits of a fertilizer known as guano were discovered inside the cave. So a mining company began excavating the precious resource in 1911 and soon shipped more than 250 tons of the fertilizer to San Francisco. Unfortunately, some of the human remains and artifacts were neglected and lost in the mining process. This led to an official excavation in 1912 and 1924. After the top layer of guano had been mined, strange objects started to surface. Around the area, the earliest evidence of human habitation dates back about 4,000 years. The Lovelock culture lasted for some 3,000 years, and they left us with 10,000 stunning artifacts. The pits in the cave were like a series of time capsules hidden at different depths. Archaeologists determined the age of each pit by its depth. It turns out that many different groups used the cave for storage over a really long time, and the things they stored there give us a really cool glimpse into their cultures. It's like a giant ancient storage unit full of hidden treasures. What have the researchers found besides the giant bones, you might ask? Some other bodies were mummified using a method similar to the one applied by ancient Egyptians. These remains also had something in common with the bodies discovered as far south as Lake Titicaca. Both mummies had some red hair, yet there are scientists who believe this reddish hue is the result of the interaction with the environment in which the bodies stayed. So, while the story of the red-haired giants may be a wild and intriguing tale, not everyone is convinced. Some experts believe that the bones found in Lovelock Cave are simply the remains of prehistoric animals, like mammoths or sloths. But others insist that there's something more to the story. Other relics, such as finely crafted baskets and exquisite duck decoys made from tule fibers, were also found there. In any case, this cave is worth the attention it gets. By the way, you can still visit this cave today and see the pits of different depths with your own eyes. But let me tell you one thing. It's in a hot, dry, and isolated place. Archaeologists have made another discovery that seems to be straight out of a legend. They think they found the palace of the one and only Odysseus, who was the legendary Greek king of Ithaca and the hero of Homer's epic poem. Move over, Indiana Jones. We've got some real-life adventure happening here from around 1300 BCE. Apparently, this is the only palace mentioned in Homer's epic poems that hasn't been found. The excavations have been made on the Ionian Islands, and the view from the ruins found on the island of Ithaca are exactly as described in the Odyssey, says the professor who led the excavation team. Known to the ancient Romans as Ulysses, the Greek hero took 10 years to return home to Ithaca after the fall of Troy. For many years, Homer's other epic, called the Iliad, which tells the story of the protracted siege of Troy by the Greeks, was regarded as a myth too. But then, in the 1870s, Troy was rediscovered in modern-day Turkey's Çanakkale city. So, if they found Troy, who's to say they couldn't find Odysseus's home? the researchers were following Homer's words as a roadmap. The excavation site has a building complex with 2 levels. It has important finds, such as storerooms and workshops, a complicated drainage system, and fragments of pottery. It also has a well from the 8th century BCE, which is around the time when Odysseus is believed to have been the king. Yet, not everyone is convinced that the team has actually discovered the home of Odysseus. A British researcher named Robert Biddlestone insists that Homer's description of ancient Ithaca isn't very similar to the island that now has its name, and that Odysseus's kingdom was actually on the Isle of Cephalonia. However, Italian archaeologist Adriano La Regina might have a more realistic approach to this debate. He says that whether this find has a connection to Ulysses or not, what's more important is the discovery of this royal palace. Once upon a time, in a land far away, the Klamath Indians spread a legend about the creation of Crater Lake. Okay, maybe this land is not that far away, and it still exists. You can find it in south central Oregon, in the western United States. Anyway, the legend has it that this lake was formed in a vicious battle between 2 volcanoes, Mount Mazama and Mount Shasta. Then the spirits of earth and the sky, which are Lau, who ruled the below world, and Skell, the chief of the above world, joined the fight. It turned into a geological drama. During the battle, darkness veiled the land. The fight was over when Mount Mazama collapsed and sent Lau back into the underworld. Then the rain filled the pit and created a lake in the place where the mountain had once stood. Flash forward to our time. Scientists have discovered that Mount Mazama did erupt 7,700 years ago. Artifacts found in the area prove that the legend indeed contains some details about the explosion. The tale says that red-hot rocks were flying through the sky. This happened during the volcanic eruption that caused the mountain to collapse. This created the volcanic caldera, which later on got filled with water. What makes this legend came true story unusual is how long it has existed. According to researchers, these types of verbal stories lose their credibility within 600 to 700 years. That's why the legend about the creation of Crater Lake is so unique. So many generations, for hundreds of years, have been accurately passing down the information. This volcanic crater lake is now in a national park. It's famous for its deep blue color. The water in it is extremely clear. If you visit it today, the water you'll see won't be the same as for someone who will visit the place 250 years later. Because there are no rivers flowing into or out of the lake, the existing water evaporates and the lake gets filled again by rain and snowfall. Basically, every 250 years, the water is replaced. Plus, this lake is almost 2,000 feet deep, which makes it the deepest lake in the United States. Swimming is okay in the lake, but there's only one legal and safe trail to get to the shore. There are other activities, such as fishing and boat tours. Shared human experiences, such as birth, marriage, and aging, may explain why certain tales are shared globally. Similar struggles and obstacles faced by humans around the world generate similar themes in traditional stories about love, parenting, and mortality. So, do you have legends or tales you've heard of from your grandparents? Who knows? Maybe your ancestors too witnessed a cool historical event.
Imagine a person who weighs like an adult reindeer. As for their height, it is almost like 2 adults stacked one on the other. This is exactly what Robert Pershing Wadlow looked like. This American dude was the tallest person ever recorded, standing at a whopping 8 foot 11.1 inches tall and weighing 439 pounds. Growing up, Wadlow was always the tallest kid in the room. At the age of 8, he was already as tall as his dad. And at the age of 9, he was strong and big enough to carry his own father. By the time he graduated high school, he had already grown to be 8 foot 4 inches tall. As for job prospects, he intended to become a lawyer, and he even enrolled in college. But his height let him have a few side hustles. First, circus performers that made him a celebrity in no time. Second, in 1938, he kicked off a promo tour with the International Shoe Company, snagging free shoes along the way. Wadlow wasn't about that freak show life. He saw himself as a walking ad for the company. Because of his huge stature, he needed to wear special braces on his legs to help him walk. He never used a wheelchair, but walking was definitely a big struggle for him. Sadly, an infection from a faulty brace led to his untimely demise in 1940. His coffin was so huge that it took 12 pallbearers and 8 assistants to carry it. To this day, a life-size statue of Wadlow stands tall in Alton, his hometown. Throughout his short life, and Robert only lived 22 years, he never stopped growing. Each year, he would get an extra few inches to his gigantic height. When he was 21 years old, he passed John Rogan in terms of height, and that was the guy who had been recorded as the tallest guy ever before Robert came into play. Rob's predecessor, John Bud Rogan, born in Tennessee, was known as the tallest non-mobile person ever, measuring 8 feet 9 inches. His rapid growth started at 13 years old due to gigantism, leading to joint stiffness. Despite his condition preventing physical labor, Rogan made a living selling portraits and postcards. He declined offers to join carnivals and sideshows, preferring to maintain his independence. Rogan used a goat-pulled cart as a wheelchair. He was known for his deep voice and playful demeanor. Unlike Robert Wadlow, John Rogan didn't boast a reindeer-like weight. On the contrary, he only weighed 174 pounds, which is 2.5 times less than Robert. Zheng Jinlian from China rocked the world by becoming the tallest woman ever recorded in modern times. Despite her parents and siblings being of average height, she had a gene for towering greatness, but her stature was the result of a condition. The thing is, a tumor messed with her hormones and made her shoot up in height. By age 13, she had already been taller than the tallest guy of the same age. Zheng managed to graduate even with all the attention her height brought. People came from far and wide to meet her and gawk at her impressive stature. Even though doctors suggested surgery to remove the tumor causing her rapid growth, Zheng decided to keep it. She didn't want to lose her hair. She was quite the foodie too, eating tons of dumplings and rice each day to fuel her body. Sadly, health issues caught up with her, and she passed away in 1982. Her height was recorded as 8 feet 2 inches. She beat out Jane Bunford for the title of the tallest woman to ever walk the earth, and even had a moment as the tallest person alive from 1981 to 1982. By the way, Jane Bunford was the tallest recognized British person known to date. At a height of 7 feet 11 inches, she definitely stood out in a crowd. Born in Birmingham in 1895, Jane was an average Jane until 11 years old. At that age, she had an accident that changed her life forever. A head injury damaged her pituitary gland, causing an excess of growth hormone to send her height skyrocketing. Due to discomfort caused by her gigantic size, she had to drop out of school. Although she had opportunities to profit from her unique stature, Jane chose to live a quiet life. In her final years, she became a recluse due to the unwanted attention her height brought. Battling joint issues and a severe spinal curvature, Jane passed away at the age of 26. Hey, I have a quick question for you. Is height something that can change or not? It seems like we actually do get a little taller during the day and shrink back down at night. Let's thank gravity for this. But there was this one crazy case where a guy named Adam Rayner was super short at 21, only 3 feet and 10.5 inches. But then, he suddenly started growing like crazy. By the time he was 32, he was 7 feet 1.75 inches tall. Unfortunately, all that growth happened so fast that he ended up bedridden for life and didn't become a basketball star. Socks can be a real hassle for tall people. Don Kohler, who wore size 22 shoes, once said his biggest clothing issue was finding socks that fit. Luckily, he found a company in Pennsylvania that made custom socks for him. Don was really tall, one of only 24 people in history to reach over 8 feet tall. He was known as the world's tallest man from 1969 until he passed away in 1981, having grown to 8 feet 2 inches. He had a condition called gigantism, which made him grow abnormally, starting from the age of 10. Don was born in Denton, Montana, to parents who were taller than average. He had a twin sister, but she was 5 feet 9 inches. It was a record-breaking height difference of 2 foot 5 in between twins, as recognized by the Guinness World Records. Don worked as a salesman for 25 years using his height as an advantage when meeting with customers. If you too wear a larger shoe size, you know how frustrating trying to find the perfect pair can be. Treintje Kiever from the Netherlands definitely understood the struggle. Born in 1616, she is rumored to be the tallest woman in history, standing at 9 Amsterdam feet. Sadly, she passed away at just 17 years old. Her original shoes, which were over 14 inches in length, European size 54 or American size 22, are still on display. Her parents even took her to carnivals to make money by showing her off. Treintje first gained attention when she was 9 years old. At that time, she was already 6 foot 7 inches tall. A royal group, including the Bohemian king and his family, visited her in The Hague, curious about the 9-year-old girl taller than every man in Europe. The Netherlands is home to some seriously tall folks, with the average height of its residents being 6 feet. The US may have produced some behemoths in the past, but the current titles for the tallest man and woman are held by Turkey. Meet Rumeysa Gelci, Turkey's towering treasure and Guinness World Records queen. At 24, this 7-foot-tall lady is not just the tallest woman alive, but also a front-end web developer, crime novel enthusiast, and swimming pro. Overcoming challenges with Weaver syndrome, she's a fighter and a voice for rare conditions. As of 2024, Sultan Qasim is the world's tallest living man. Back in 2009, he shot to fame when he was measured by the Guinness World Records. He was 8 feet 1 inches tall. Can you believe that? Only a handful of people in history have ever reached that height. This Turkish farmer didn't start sprouting up until he was 10 years old. And get this, everyone in his family is of average height except for him. He has a condition called pituitary gigantism. Being super tall definitely has its pros and cons for Sultan. He could easily help his mom with household tasks, but shopping for clothes and squeezing into a regular-sized car can be a real challenge. And playing professional basketball? Not in the cards, as he's just too tall for the courts. Sultan also holds the record for the largest hands on a living person.
Welcome, dear listeners, to another riveting episode of our scientific podcast. I'm your host, and today we're about to embark on an extraordinary journey that traverses the realms of history, archaeology, and the captivating world of giants. In this episode, we're going to delve into intriguing legends, archaeological discoveries, and real-life stories that challenge our understanding of human height. We'll explore the mysteries of the ancient race of giants in Nevada, the enigmatic red-haired Siteka tribe, and the tallest people in recorded history. We'll traverse the landscapes of time and space, from the rugged terrains of Nevada to the mythical palace of Odysseus, and even into the lives of the tallest living man and woman. Our journey will not just be about the extraordinary, but also about the human spirit that navigates through the extraordinary. We'll learn about the resilience and strength of individuals who live in a world that's not designed for their height. We'll discover how they've turned their unique stature into platforms for promoting understanding and acceptance. So, prepare yourself for an adventure that's larger than life. Get ready to question what you know, to explore the boundaries of possibility, and to immerse yourself in the fascinating world of giants. This is not just a podcast episode, it's a journey into the extraordinary. So, sit back, relax, and let's begin this incredible exploration together. Welcome to our podcast. Now, let's turn the pages of time and journey back to a period steeped in mystery and legend. Picture this, the vast, rugged landscapes of Nevada, where the echoes of an ancient race still resonate. Yes, we're talking about the legendary giants of Nevada, a tale that has intrigued historians and archaeologists alike. This isn't just any legend. This is a story that challenges our understanding of human history, a narrative that has been passed down through generations, whispered around campfires under the starlit Nevada sky. These were not just giants in the metaphorical sense, but beings of enormous stature, towering over the average human, their presence dominating the landscapes they inhabited. The heart of this legend lies in the Lovelock Cave, a place that has become a symbol of these ancient giants. This cave, nestled by the Humboldt Sink in western Nevada, is more than just a geological formation. It's a silent witness to a time long past, a time when these giants, known as the Ct-Ka tribe, are said to have walked the earth. The legend tells us that these red-haired giants were so colossal that they had to be buried within the cave itself. Imagine that for a moment. Picture the enormity of these beings, their towering figures casting long shadows over the Nevada landscape. The very thought sends shivers down the spine, doesn't it? The Ct-Ka tribe, a name that resonates with intrigue and mystery, forms a crucial part of the legend of Nevada's giants. This tribe, according to the lore, were not ordinary humans, but red-haired giants who once inhabited the Lovelock Cave. The Ct-Ka, whose existence is etched in the annals of folklore, were said to be so colossal that the cave itself became their final resting place. The sheer size of these beings is hard to comprehend. Imagine being so towering that they had to be interred within the vast expanse of a cave. It's a thought that challenges our understanding of human dimensions. But the Ct-Ka were not just known for their size. They were also distinguished by their red hair, a characteristic that set them apart. This detail, while seemingly minor, adds a layer of depth to the legend. It paints a vivid picture of these giants, their fiery red hair a striking contrast against the backdrop of the Nevada landscape. The discovery of the Lovelock Cave, the alleged home of the Ct-Ka tribe, is a tale that intertwines history, archaeology, and a dash of serendipity. The cave, located by the Humboldt Sink in western Nevada, was once part of an enormous lake. As the lake dried up, it left behind a number of smaller ones, including the Humboldt Sink, and the cave that would soon become a focal point of historical interest. The story of the cave's discovery begins with a mining engineer named John T. Reed. In 1886, Reed found himself engaged in conversation with the locals, who shared tales of a cave that held secrets of an ancient race of giants. Intrigued by these stories, Reed decided to investigate. Upon seeing the cave, he knew he had stumbled upon something significant. However, the cave soon attracted attention for a different reason. Deposits of a valuable fertilizer known as guano were discovered within its depths. This led to a mining company beginning excavation in 1911, extracting more than 250 tons of the resource. Unfortunately, this process led to the neglect and loss of some of the human remains and artifacts within the cave. The loss triggered an official excavation in 1912 and again in 1924. As the top layer of guano was mined, strange objects began to surface. These artifacts, along with the human remains, provided the earliest evidence of human habitation in the area dating back about 4,000 years. It serves as a silent testament to the Lovelock culture that lasted for some 3,000 years, leaving behind over 10,000 stunning artifacts. The discovery of the cave has opened a window into the past, offering us a glimpse into the lives of those who might have once walked among giants. The excavation of the Lovelock Cave began in earnest in 1912, following the mining operations that had inadvertently unearthed intriguing artifacts and human remains. The cave, once a source of valuable guano, was now recognized for its historical significance, prompting a more careful exploration of its depths. The excavation process was akin to peeling back the layers of time. As the top layer of guano was removed, a treasure trove of artifacts began to surface. Each object, each remnant, was a piece of a historical puzzle, offering insights into the lives of the cave's ancient inhabitants. The cave was like a series of time capsules, with each pit representing a different period in history. The age of each pit was determined by its depth, revealing that the cave had been used for storage by many different groups over a long period. The items they left behind offer a fascinating glimpse into their cultures, like a giant ancient storage unit full of hidden treasures. Among the discoveries were bones much larger than those of an average human, lending credence to the legends of the Ct-Ka tribe. But the cave held more than just skeletal remains. Mummified bodies were found, preserved using methods similar to those employed by the ancient Egyptians. These bodies, some with traces of red hair,
added another layer of mystery to the cave's already rich history. Now let's talk more about a very interesting find: mummified bodies. We found them in the depths of the Lovelock Cave, add a captivating chapter to the story of the Seeteca tribe. These remains, preserved through time, offer a tangible link to the past, providing us with clues about the people who once inhabited the cave. The mummification process used on these bodies bears a striking resemblance to the methods employed by the ancient Egyptians. This connection, spanning continents and cultures, is a testament to the shared human experiences and knowledge that transcend geographical boundaries. But what sets these mummified bodies apart is a peculiar characteristic: traces of red hair. This detail aligns with the legend of the Seeteca tribe, the red-haired giants of Nevada. However, the presence of red hair has sparked debate among scientists. Some believe that the reddish hue is a result of the interaction with the environment in which the bodies were preserved. In addition to the mummified bodies, the cave also yielded bodies that shared similarities with remains discovered as far south as Lake Titicaca. This connection, spanning thousands of miles, adds another layer of intrigue to the story. However, not everyone is convinced by the legend of the red-haired giants. Some experts argue that the bones found in the Lovelock Cave are simply the remains of prehistoric animals, like mammoths or sloths. But others insist that there's something more to the story. The discoveries within the Lovelock Cave have sparked a fascinating debate that continues to engage historians, archaeologists, and enthusiasts alike. At the heart of this debate is a question that challenges our understanding of human history. Were the bones found in the cave the remains of an ancient race of giants, or are they simply the remnants of prehistoric animals? On one side of the debate are those who believe in the legend of the Seeteca tribe, the red-haired giants of Nevada. They point to the size of the bones, the mummified bodies, and the artifacts as evidence of the existence of these giants. The presence of red hair on some of the mummified bodies, they argue, aligns with the descriptions of the Seeteca tribe in the legends. On the other side are the skeptics, who argue that the bones could belong to prehistoric animals, such as mammoths or sloths. They suggest that the size of the bones and the presence of red hair could be explained by environmental factors or the process of fossilization. The debate is further fueled by the discovery of other relics in the cave, such as finely crafted baskets and exquisite duck decoys made from tule fibers. These artifacts, while not directly related to the giants, add to the rich tapestry of human history associated with the cave. Also, the Lovelock Cave, beyond its association with the legend of the Seeteca tribe, is a treasure trove of relics that offer a fascinating glimpse into the past. These artifacts, each with its own story to tell, provide insights into the lives of the people who once inhabited the cave. Among the relics discovered in the cave are finely crafted baskets. These baskets, woven with skill and precision, are a testament to the craftsmanship of the cave's ancient inhabitants. They offer clues about the daily lives of these people, their skills, and their culture. In addition to the baskets, exquisite duck decoys made from tule fibers were also found in the cave. These decoys, crafted with an eye for detail, suggest that the inhabitants of the cave may have engaged in hunting or bird catching. They also highlight the artistic abilities of these people, their understanding of the natural world, and their ability to replicate it. Each relic, from the simplest basket to the most intricate decoy, is a piece of a historical puzzle. They provide us with tangible links to the past, allowing us to piece together the story of the cave's ancient inhabitants. These artifacts, along with the bones and mummified bodies, paint a vivid picture of a time long past. Now, let's move on to another place. We move to the Palace of Odysseus, a name that evokes images of ancient Greek mythology and epic adventures, forms an intriguing part of our journey into the world of giants. While seemingly unrelated to the legend of the Seeteca tribe, this discovery offers another perspective on the concept of giants, this time through the lens of mythology and archaeology. Odysseus, the legendary Greek king of Ithaca, is a central figure in Homer's epic, the Odyssey. Known for his cunning and resourcefulness, Odysseus is often depicted as a larger-than-life figure, a giant in his own right. His palace, therefore, is a symbol of his grandeur and stature. The discovery of what is believed to be the Palace of Odysseus on the island of Ithaca is a significant archaeological find. This site, with its ancient ruins and artifacts, provides a tangible link to the world of Greek mythology. It offers a glimpse into the life of Odysseus, the legendary hero, adding a layer of reality to the myth. While the palace of Odysseus may not house the remains of actual giants, it serves as a reminder of the giants of mythology, the heroes and gods who loomed large in the tales of ancient Greece. It invites us to explore the concept of giants from a different perspective, one that is rooted in myth and legend. Let's make a small digression. The world of giants is a realm that transcends time and geography, a concept that has fascinated humanity across cultures and epochs. From the red-haired giants of the Ka tribe to the larger-than-life figures of Greek mythology, giants have always held a special place in our collective consciousness. But the world of giants is not confined to legends and myths. It extends into the realm of reality, where extraordinary individuals challenge our understanding of human height. These real-life giants, with their towering stature, offer a fascinating glimpse into the extremes of human growth. One such individual is Robert Pershing Wadlow, the tallest person in recorded history. Standing at a staggering height of 8 feet 11 inches, Wadlow was a giant in the truest sense. His extraordinary height was the result of a condition known as hyperplasia of his pituitary gland, which resulted in an abnormally high level of human growth hormone. But the world of giants is not just about height. It's about the challenges, the triumphs, and the human experiences that come with living in a world that's not designed for people of such stature. It's about the resilience and strength of these individuals, their ability to navigate a world that often views them with awe and curiosity. Let's talk about specific people and their stories. Robert Pershing Wadlow, also known as the Alton Giant, was a figure who truly lived up to the title of a giant. Born in Alton, Illinois in 1918, Wadlow's extraordinary height was evident from an early age. By the time he was 8 years old, he was already taller than his father. Wadlow's growth was due to a condition known as hyperplasia of his pituitary gland, which resulted in an abnormally high level of human growth hormone. Despite his towering stature, Wadlow was known for his gentle demeanor and humility. He was a beloved figure in his hometown of Alton, where he was known for his kindness and his willingness to participate in community events. Wadlow's life was not without challenges. His extraordinary height brought with it a host of health issues, including a lack of sensation in his feet and difficulty with mobility. Despite these challenges, Wadlow lived his life with grace and dignity, refusing to let his height define him. In addition to his life in Alton, Wadlow also toured with the Ringling Brothers Circus, where he was billed as the tallest man in the world. Despite the spectacle of the circus, Wadlow was always keen to emphasize his normality, often stating, "I'm just like everyone else, only taller." Wadlow's life, though cut short at the age of 22, left a lasting impact. The Alton Giant, with his gentle nature and towering stature, continues to be a source of fascination and inspiration, a true giant in every sense of the word. But let us tell you about the tallest man history has known. The title of the tallest living man currently belongs to Sultan Kösen from Turkey. Born in 1982, Kösen stands at an incredible height of 8 feet 2.8 inches. His extraordinary growth, like Wadlow's, is due to a condition known as pituitary gigantism, which results in an overproduction of growth hormone. Kösen's height has brought with it a unique set of challenges and opportunities. Everyday tasks, such as getting into a car or walking through a door, can be difficult. However, his height has also opened doors to unique experiences. In 2009, his life changed when he was declared the tallest living man by the Guinness World Records. This recognition brought him global attention and made him a cultural ambassador of sorts. Despite the challenges that come with his height, Kösen maintains a positive outlook on life. He has used his stature to spread a message of acceptance and understanding, reminding us that it's our differences that make us unique. But both of the past two were men. What about the tallest woman? The title of the tallest living woman is held by Rümeysa Gelgi from Turkey. Born in 1997, Gelgi stands at an impressive height of 7 feet 0.7 inches. Her extraordinary height is due to a condition known as Weaver syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that results in rapid growth. Despite the challenges that come with her height, Gelgi has embraced her stature with grace and resilience. She has used her unique perspective to advocate for acceptance and understanding, reminding us that our differences are what make us unique. In addition to her advocacy work, Gelgi has also pursued a career in technology. She works as a front-end developer, a role that allows her to combine her analytical skills with her creative talents. Her work in this field is a testament to her determination and resilience, proving that height is no barrier to achieving one's goals. As we draw this journey to a close, we reflect on the fascinating world of giants we've explored. From the legends of the Si-Te-Ka tribe and the archaeological wonders of the Lovelock Cave, to the real-life giants like Robert Wadlow, Sultan Kosen, and Rumesa Gelgi, we've delved into a realm that challenges our understanding of human height. Each story, each discovery, has offered a unique perspective on the human experience. They've invited us to question, to explore, and to keep an open mind as we seek to understand our past and our present. They've reminded us of the diversity of human experiences and the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit. Whether they are the giants of legend or the giants of reality, these towering figures continue to captivate our imagination. They invite us to explore the boundaries of possibility and to celebrate the diversity of human experiences. As we look forward to our next episode, we carry with us the stories and the lessons we've learned from the world of giants. We look forward to continuing this journey of discovery, exploring new realms, and uncovering more fascinating aspects of our world. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep an open mind.
Imagine you've booked a tour through the jungles of Costa Rica. All of a sudden, you stumble upon a huge stone sphere, nearly the length of a king-sized bed in diameter. How on earth did it end up there? And what does it symbolize? You immediately ask your guide. He's not as amazed as you are and tells you that there are actually several hundreds of them scattered across the south of the country. The mysterious stone spheres don't have an official name. The locals simply call them las bolas, which means balls in Spanish, while historians refer to them as diquis spheres, after the culture that produced them. Scientists have studied the sediment layers of the Earth around them and estimate that the earliest were made around the year 600 CE, and the newest ones date to the year 1000 CE. Many of the spheres were relocated after their initial discovery, and that's why archaeologists can't date them precisely. The diquis culture completely disappeared shortly after they were discovered by the Spanish in the 16th century. Unlike the Mayas and the Aztecs, the myths or legends of these peoples didn't survive, so they cannot explain the existence of the mysterious orbs. More than 300 of these objects have been discovered so far, with some being smaller than 1 inch in diameter, and the largest measures 6.6 feet in diameter, standing taller than most humans. Although there are ones made from limestone, most spheres were carved out of a coarse version of basalt, a type of rock that forms when lava cools rapidly. Some orbs weigh up to 15 tons, and in most cases, their surface is smooth to the touch, although there are coarse, mostly unfinished pieces. If we throw away the theory that river erosion naturally sculpted the spheres, the ancient people seem to have created them by hammering boulders with other rocks. Once they got the rough shape they were aiming for, they would polish the rock to perfection, using techniques such as controlled fracture and grinding. The mysterious spheres are located in the Diquis Delta, on the coast of the Pacific Ocean. Most of them can be found in a place called Farm 6, which, alongside 3 other sites, was proclaimed a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2014. The area contains other finds from the pre-Columbian era, such as paved areas, burial sites, and mounds. For centuries, the stone balls were hidden under a thick layer of sediment that protected them against the elements and looters until they were unearthed during the 1930s. The company that owned the land was clearing the rainforest for banana plantations when they stumbled upon these unusual stone constructions. Some were damaged by bulldozers, and some by workers trying to pry them open, as they believed there was gold hidden inside. It took a while before the authorities intervened to stop further damage to the finds. Doris Stone, the daughter of an executive of the company that owned the land, was the first to study the spheres. In 1943, she published an article in a leading American archaeological journal, turning the world's attention to the orbs. Expeditions soon followed, and archaeologists were immediately able to determine that the stone formations were human-made, probably created by the ancient indigenous population of Costa Rica. To this day, no one has been able to fully explain their function in a scientific way. It means there's still room for some wild theories about the sphere's origins and true purpose. The most popular theory in the scientific community is that the stone spheres served as decorations and status symbols, as many of them were found near the houses of chieftains. Local tribal leaders were also laid to rest with some of the smaller balls, so these stone formations were definitely associated with power in some way. Chiseling a boulder to perfection involved a lot of labor and planning, and only powerful individuals could afford it at the time. The other popular theory is that the boulders were used for astronomical observations. Individual spheres represented stars or planets, like a primitive map of the night sky. Since they were perfectly round, it was easy to roll them around. Before the jungle engulfed them, the area where they were found was a flat alluvial plain, ideal for rolling large boulders around. Another version of this theory suggests that the stones were used as boundary markers, much like modern border stones, which are also mostly made from stone. Finally, legends from other tribes that lived in the area tell of how the spheres were cannonballs that the deity of thunder used to drive away the deity of winds and hurricanes. We still don't know the original purpose of the Costa Rican spheres, but they remain an important part of the country's national identity. The National Museum in the Costa Rican capital, San Jose, has 6 of them in its courtyard. Many other spheres have become prized garden decorations for wealthy Costa Ricans. There's even one at Harvard University. More than a millennium after they were created, the mysterious stone spheres of Costa Rica are still associated with power and wealth. In terms of numbers, the stone orbs are not perfectly round. They are rated as nearly perfect, at 96% spherical in shape. And while even that is pretty impressive, the spheres of Costa Rica are not the only ones of their kind. Nearly a decade ago, workers came across mysterious giant stone spheres deep underground in a coal mine in northern Asia. The surface of the spheres, which measured a little over the length of a human footstep in diameter, was unusually smooth, and people tried to explain it somehow. Some were certain they were out of this world, and others suggested the spheres were actually petrified dinosaur eggs. Scientists quickly put an end to further discussion, as it turned out that the mysterious spheres were concretions. Those are rock formations that take millions of years to form deep underground. Think of a pebble that picks up snow as it rolls down a hill. That's how concretions are made. Groundwater, rich in sediment and minerals, flows around the sediment, slowly shaping it into a perfect orb. The process is quite common in nature, but most concretions are fairly small. The spheres found in the coal mine grew to their size in the mineral-rich ground, and they were big enough to get the press and the general public interested. Another possible case of concretions is the massive stone spheres found in the Visoko Valley in Bosnia. Samir Osmanagic, better known as the Bosnian Indiana Jones, was the first to explore those objects about as wide as the length of a London bus. He believes the stone spheres were carved by a lost civilization that lived in the area 1,000 years ago. The reddish color of the orbs, though, is proof to geologists that they are indeed concretions, rich in iron content. The Moki marbles, found in rural Utah, are similar in color to the Bosnian spheres. These tiny concretions are the size of toy marbles and consist of a sandstone core and a shell made out of hematite, an iron ore. In South Africa, miners have come across Klerksdorp spheres. which are similar in shape and size to Moki marbles. The only difference is that these ones formed inside volcanic sediments and ash. The most intriguing among human-made tiny spheres are probably the orbs found on several Greek islands. Scientists discovered 700 stones smaller than golf balls near the Bronze Age site of Akrotiri on the island of Santorini. They believe that the finds were between 3,600 and 4,500 years old. When they compared all the stones' variations in size and color, the archaeologists concluded that these enigmatic stones could have easily been the oldest board game ever made. With the help of artificial intelligence, scientists are now trying to work out the rules of this game.
So people have tried to make up stories about weird-looking humans for as long as we can remember. What's even weirder is that, over the years, people have even claimed to have proof of these mythical humanoids. Like the Gorgadas, which were said to be a tribe that lived on islands near the Atlantic coast of Africa. The first time these people were mentioned in any sort of literature goes back to the 1st century. Not much was said about the gentlemen of the tribe, but the ladies sure were special. The women of this tribe were said to have hair all over their bodies. These days, scientists are almost certain people might have confused these humanoids with monkeys or apes. One Carthaginian general claimed he actually visited the islands back in the day and described the men as apparently being really fast runners. This strengthens the idea that these reports were of primates, not of people. It's normal to assume apes or monkeys would have bolted after seeing people for the first time, right? The location of the Gorgadas and their native islands is uncertain and has been described in different ways by writers over time. Pliny the Elder, a Roman scholar from the 1st century, wrote about another strange tribe. These people were called the Astami. Similar to the Gorgadas, they were said to be hairy people that lived in the upper parts of the Ganges River, near today's North Indian border. It was not their appearance that made them weird, though. Pliny wrote that these creatures didn't eat or drink at all, not because they didn't want to, but because they didn't have mouths. They got their nourishment from sniffing the scent of plants and apples. A strong scent could also have been very dangerous to them. As for their overall build, they were said to be thin and bony, mostly because they didn't consume any food. It's hard to believe these people did exist at some point, but there may be some historical facts to back this mysterious sniffing behavior. Some specialists believe that tribes located near the Himalayan mountains brought fragrant fruits and veggies on their travels. That's because smelling something nice can help with altitude sickness. In the past, travelers thought the nausea was caused by a bad wind and tried to cope by smelling onions, dried apples, apricots, and garlic. Now, Pliny the Elder seems to have had a lot of fun writing about strange human-like species. In his writing, he also mentions a tribe of headless people, with their faces on their chests. They were popular in medieval tales too, and were also nicknamed chest eyes. They were said to live in mountainous and wooded areas of North Africa, surrounded by wild animals such as lions, elephants, and snakes. Herodotus, the Greek writer from the 5th century BCE, also mentions these people in his story, but since he is known as both the father of history and the father of lies, I wouldn't be so quick to believe his stories. As with many other myths surrounding mythical creatures, there is some truth to these descriptions. People that travel through the desert, like the Tuareg people, traditionally wear clothing that covers them completely, with spaces in the fabric just for their eyes and nose. It's because of this tradition where they believe it protects them from spirits while they're crossing the desert. It's no wonder these outfits might have misled the ancient writers into thinking these people were headless. This next mythical group was like the basset hounds of people, not because they had a good sense of smell or because they snored on the couch the whole day, but because they had ears so long they could cover their entire bodies at night. They were called the Panati and were said to be a tribe of giant-eared people from some unknown cold islands. They slept inside their big ears, and some said they could even help these people fly. Then there are the stories about weird monopods. You might have already guessed what those looked like. The monopods were creatures in ancient mythology that had just one big foot. The word monopod translates to 1 foot in Greek. They were also called skiapod, which means shadow foot. That's because, according to some accounts, these people had feet so large they could use them as umbrellas to help them hide from the sun. They would simply lay on their backs with their foot up in case they were ever caught in the scorching heat. Never mind about the foot burn. They were first mentioned in a play in 414 BCE. Others wrote about traveler stories encountering monopods in India, and they described these people as having one leg, but one they could easily leap with to get around. No list of strange human-like creatures would be complete without mermaids. They're described as mythical beings who live in the sea and are usually depicted as having a woman's upper body and a fish's tail below the waist. In different cultures, the mermaid represents either life and fertility or danger and destruction. The earliest known mermaid legend dates back to around 1000 BCE. In this story, the spirit, Atargatis, wanted to live in the sea, but her peers would not allow her to give up on her beautiful features. So they opted for that half-human, half-fish appearance. There are also folktales of mermaids in early Britain, but with no illustrations attached. In sailor tales, the mermaids can symbolize both luck and tragedy. Since sailors spent much time in the sea and they sometimes had nothing to do, it's no wonder they started to believe in figures that controlled the weather. Mermaids were seen as both attractive and dangerous, like the sea itself, reflecting the unpredictable and thrilling nature of water. We have no proof that mermaids exist today, but some people did their best to manufacture evidence over the years. Ever heard of the Fiji mermaid? It was a made-up creature introduced by American showman P.T. Barnum back in the 1840s. It was presented in New York, Boston, and London and gathered a lot of attention from the public. It was not the only one of its kind, and the weird thing is these fake mermaids weren't even pretty. Some of them were made by attaching fishtails to ape or monkey bones. The Dominican Republic has its own mysterious human-like mythological creature. This story tells of a woman who lives in the woods, described as having long, dark hair. But here comes the catch. She's said to have backward feet. Despite being quite short, her features are described as being extremely beautiful, especially her eyes. Her name is La Ciguapa. She's thought to be a nocturnal creature, and you can't predict her movements based on her footprints, because of the way her feet are positioned. It's also thought that to catch sight of her, you'll need to go looking for her at night, but only when there's a full moon. There's always a catch. And you'll also need a dog to help. There are many variations of her story, though. Other tales speak of a shy creature that runs away at the mere sight of humans. She's known to sleep in trees and feed on fish and fruit. Now, you'll mostly hear about dwarves in Norse mythology. In many Northern European tales, dwarves are described as being physically smaller than most people, but also as the best of blacksmiths. They were responsible for manufacturing powerful tools that helped many heroes in their quest. Some dwarves also possessed shape-shifting abilities. They frequently took on the appearance of inanimate items like needles, as well as creatures like fish and otters. These dwarf stories may have some historical facts to back them up, too. Back in the Bronze Age, miners located in southern Europe slowly ran out of tin, a material needed to make bronze. As they went searching for more supplies, they moved northwest, where more tin was available. These miners were shorter than most Northern Europeans, and their features included darker skin and bushier hair and beards. To top it all off, they had way better knowledge of metals and how to mine and use them to make necessary tools. It's no wonder that they might have really impressed the guests to the point they believed those miners were magic. You come to sunny California and go for a hike in the Santa Lucia Mountains. There, you have a strange, unpleasant feeling, as if someone's watching you. You look around, but don't see a single soul. That's when you glance at the tops of distant mountains in front of you, and your heart skips a beat. Up on the peaks, you can see the outline of a giant humanoid figure, arms stretched out with a magnificent full rainbow circling it. This mysterious figure is dressed in all black. You can't make out any facial expressions or detail, but you can see it moving. Then it vanishes right before your eyes. Congrats! You've just witnessed the Dark Watchers, a phenomenon that's been terrifying hikers in the California mountains for over 300 years. Even now, scientists can't give an exact explanation for this mysterious appearance. What we do know is it's completely natural, probably. One theory claims that there are no silhouettes at all. The human brain just thinks up images created by shadows the clouds cast on the mountains. Over the centuries, people share stories about this legend, and their minds begin to show it, building recognizable images. The same can happen to you, like when you see the contours of a human face on a burnt piece of toast, or the shape of a dog in a passing cloud. The most accepted scientific explanation is what's called a Brocken specter. It's when sunlight gets bent by drops of fog or clouds. That explains the rainbow surrounding these figures. As for the shadow, it's only your own being stretched and projected on the mountains before you. After all, these figures usually show up when the sun is behind the witness. Natural or not, the vanishing mysterious figure scared the wits out of you. So you head east and find yourself in the desert. The blazing sun beats down on your back. There's nothing for hundreds of miles around. Hard to believe this dry, lifeless plain was once the bottom of a lake. You notice a long trail in the sand, as if someone was pushing or pulling something really heavy across the ground. You follow the strange trail, and at the end you find a single large stone. But why would anyone drag a heavy rock across the middle of the desert? But nothing touched this stone. It moved by itself. It's a phenomenon called sailing stones. Every winter, ice covers the ground here. When a strong enough wind blows, the stone starts to glide across the slippery surface. Once the ice melts, all that's left is a winding trail behind a single lonesome rock. Well, for some relief from the scorching California sun, we head to Antarctica. Snow, ice, and more blinding sun. Yep, it's a desert too. The light is almost blinding. You squint, and off in the distance, you see something red sticking out from all the surrounding endless white. As you get closer, you realize it's a waterfall, an ominous red cascade flowing from the glacier. Splashes fly in all directions and stain the white snow. Don't worry, these so-called blood falls are nothing of the sort. Millions of years ago, I wasn't around then, a glacier formed over a pond and blocked access to sunlight, heat, and oxygen. Then the pond managed to break through the glacier with a little trickle of water. When such salty water with high levels of iron meets oxygen, it creates that scarlet rust color. This is the only waterfall of its kind in the world. Now, in the town of Taos, New Mexico, locals hear a strange hum every day. But not all of them. For some reason, only about 2% of the residents can hear the sound. Some theories proposed it's caused by the location's unusual acoustics. Others put it down to some strange auditory hallucination or even something more sinister. Unexplainable sounds happen on other worlds as well. In 2020, the Mars rover recorded a strange hum coming from the red planet. It's a quiet, continuous drone that sometimes fluctuates because of Marsquakes. Back on Earth, we head to the warm rainforests of Southeast Asia. You see a tree that looks as if someone poured paint all over it. But the rainbow eucalyptus was painted by nature. Its unusual bark changes colors over time like a kaleidoscope. It starts off as a bright green shade, then red, orange, purple, and finally brown. Then the colorful cycle starts again. One of the biggest mysteries of nature is ball lightning. It's a glowing blue, orange, or yellow sphere that appears during a thunderstorm. Many witnesses say they hear a hissing sound and detect a strong odor with it. The first mention of ball lightning described it breaking through a window and disappearing. As with any mystery, scientists can't explain the exact cause. A popular theory is that ordinary lightning strikes the ground and causes a reaction between oxygen and vaporized soil elements. Ball lightning often occurs during earthquakes, when it usually takes the form of a blue flame coming out of the ground. The ball lightning phenomenon happens all over the world, but so far, no one's been able to snap a picture of it. There's an extremely unusual volcano in Java. If you go there at night, you'll see an electric blue flame burning from the ground, along with oozing bright blue lava. It's incredibly hot, but that's not actually lava. All this unusual blue is sulfur gas escaping from crevices in the volcano and catching on fire. It also condenses into a liquid form and looks like blue lava flowing down. As soon as you come to the Namib Desert, you immediately notice something very strange. Sprinkled among the dry grasslands are almost perfect circles of dirt where nothing grows. These massive polka dots are called fairy circles, and, you guessed it, nobody really knows what causes them. The likely culprit is termites eating the grass around their underground colony. Well, that could explain the circles' differing sizes. The bugs continue to eat as the colony expands outwards, but they stop before they encroach on a neighboring colony. The patches where you do see grass show a sort of boundary separating different termite populations, or so goes the theory. Heading down under to Australia's Lake Hillier. Your eyes don't deceive you. Yes, that lake is bubblegum pink and is perfectly safe to swim in. The giant pink puddle is a salt lake, and it's not the only one of its kind in the world. Salt lakes are pink because of a kind of algae and other microorganisms living in them. They produce a red pigment to protect themselves from the sun. What's unique about Lake Hillier, though, is the water is still pink even if you scoop it up into a glass, and it remains bright pink all year round. The same can't be said about other pink lakes. Japan is home to one of the most famous active volcanoes in the world. It's special because it creates an incredible natural phenomenon, a dirty thunderstorm. The volcano regularly spews out a black cloud of smoke, ash, and lightning. During an ordinary storm, ice crystals collide with each other and cause discharge, creating lightning. In a dirty thunderstorm, particles of volcanic ash collide instead of ice. A peaceful night on the beach. The waves wash up on the shore and glow neon blue. But it's not the water that's glowing, it's the creatures living in it. This phenomenon is called bioluminescence. Plankton and algae release this glow when waves disturb them. Some fish, squid, and crustaceans can emit neon light as well to lure prey. No time to walk along the shore enjoying the natural light show. Hurry, we're heading out to open sea. There's no storm or wind at all. Which is why it's so surprising when you see a massive wave 5 stories high suddenly sweep across the calm waters. It nearly overturns your boat. But just as soon as it arrives, it vanishes in an instant. What was that? This unpredictable and still unexplained danger is called a rogue wave. One theory of how they form is from the sea's surface encountering a strong headwind. But remember, you didn't feel any wind blowing. Theory number 2, and the most accepted one, different waves combine to form one large one. It's something called kinetic vampirism. Under certain natural conditions, waves accumulate and exchange kinetic energy. Among all the waves, there will be one that absorbs the energy from the others like a vampire. When a lot of energy is accumulated, it releases itself in the form of a giant wave.
You decided to go scuba diving for the first time. The water is clear and the sun is shining on the seabed. You take a few selfies and the fish swimming by when suddenly, the ocean goes pitch black. You look up and, oh my, what is that gigantic animal? It's definitely not a shark, not a whale. Is it a turtle? Yup, but fear not, it's not gonna hurt you. If you had lived on this same Earth about 72 million years ago, then maybe this could have really happened to you. Scientists have recently found the fossils of a gigantic marine turtle that could have grown as big as 12 feet. If you don't have any idea of how big that is, let's see some examples. That's the average length of a hippopotamus, 6 golden retrievers, or 2 Michael Jordans stacked on top of each other. The turtle's scientific name is an homage to that old-school sea monster called Leviathan. Maybe you remember this from old-school history lessons. The Leviathan is supposedly a mythical creature that would swallow entire ships or people that were deemed too greedy by the creature. Can you imagine being swallowed by this humongous sea turtle? No, thank you. The fossils of this gigantic creature began to be excavated between 2016 and 2021, all the way in northeastern Spain. The first fossil was located by a hiker in the Spanish Pyrenees, and it was around 8 inches long. The pelvis of this turtle alone measured around 35 inches. It would definitely be one of the biggest turtles today if it hadn't gone extinct. FYI, the largest living sea turtles today can reach up to 6 feet in length, which is already pretty big. Now, how about a gigantic prehistoric scorpion? I bet most people here are not huge fans of these creatures, especially since they're poisonous, which is why the thought of a 9-foot-long aquatic scorpion might be the stuff of nightmares. Let's just say that if they hadn't gone extinct some 400 million years ago, lakes and rivers would be much more dangerous places for humans today. These gigantic insects were considered to be apex predators in their time, hunting everything from fish to other animals, even of their own kind. Yikes! I got goosebumps just imagining these creatures. Should we thank the asteroid that hit our planet now or later on in this video? Another prehistoric animal that would shock humans if it were still alive is the so-called Megatherium, a gigantic sloth. This huge sloth is believed to have grown up to 20 feet long, and its weight could be up to 8,000 pounds. It was found in the woodlands and grasslands of South America. The creature used to stand on its 2 feet in order to reach leaves on high branches. These giant sloths had huge claws. They helped them climb trees. I gotta say, I feel uncomfortable imagining these elephant-sized sloths climbing trees. Oh, of course, some dinosaurs will make our super-sized creatures list. But before that, here's a fun fact. Did you know some dinosaurs are still alive today? Scientists have proven that birds are classified as theropod dinosaurs. Such infamous creatures as the T-Rex and Velociraptor belonged to this group. I'm sure you've heard these names even before you watched Jurassic Park. The Velociraptor is that scary dino that breaks into the kitchen. Well, they evolved, gained some feathers, and turned into various species of birds we know today. That means that any bird from chickens to those little blue ones is a direct descendant of dinosaurs. Now, does the name Spinosaurus ring a bell? You can see this huge dinosaur in some museums today. Its fossils, I mean. The Spinosaurus was one of the biggest land predators to walk Earth. Actually, to walk its land and water, since scientists believe that this dino was semi-aquatic. It fed mostly on meat, which means humans would be its natural prey if it lived today. This meat-eating dino lived around 90 to 100 million years ago. It was about 60 feet long, 12 feet high, and weighed up to 22 tons. Its head was around the size of 8 bowling balls and was shaped like a crocodile's face. Basically, the Spinosaurus was a big African elephant with the face of a crocodile. Just kidding. But that would look funny though, wouldn't it? A much more attractive dino was this guy. It's considered to be the largest dinosaur that has ever lived on our planet. What made it so big was its extremely long neck and very long tail. You wouldn't want to stand behind this creature, believe me. If it decided to swish its tail, you'd get catapulted very far away. This creature lived around 100 million years ago, and its fossils were first found in Argentina around 2012. The dino measured 120 feet from head to tail, which made it almost as big as an American football field in width. And have I mentioned it weighed almost as much as a space shuttle? A staggering 75 tons. If it had been a carnivore, it would have probably been the greatest predator. But this big guy was a peaceful herbivore that had such a long neck that it could eat leaves from high trees. Cute, right? We must also talk about the Shastasaurus. As the name suggests, this animal is popularly known as the Mount Shasta lizard. even though it was a marine reptile and probably never set foot on the mountain itself. This dino was usually around 23 feet long, but there was a specific strand of this species that could get as big as 69 feet long, about the size of the great blue whale. This made it the biggest marine reptile to have ever lived. A fun fact about the Shastasaurus is that scientists believe it didn't even have teeth, which means it could only feed on soft-bodied prey, such as squid, for example. The next animal on our list is the blue whale. Believe it or not, the biggest living animal on Earth actually started small. These days, the average mature blue whale can reach up to 100 feet in length and weigh up to 200 tons. That's more or less the weight of 40 elephants put together, or 30 Tyrannosaurus rexes, or 2,670 average-sized people. Blue whales have to eat up to 50 million calories per day to support that body. That's the equivalent of 30,000 Big Macs, just FYI. But blue whales weren't always this big. They actually evolved from a four-legged mammal that lived on Earth around 48 million years ago. Their ancestor was called Pakicetus, and it was only 6 feet long. Here's a fun fact. To be able to live in the water as one does today, the blue whale had to go through some intense adaptations. A blue whale can replace up to 80 to 90% of oxygen in its lungs each time it takes a breath. A human replaces only up to 15% for comparison. It allows these animals to dive for up to 1 hour at a time, down to a staggering depth of 330 feet. Elephants were bound to make the list. Elephants are currently the largest land animals on Earth. They can grow to be about 13 feet tall and weigh up to 7 tons. That's pretty small if we compare it to the other animals that once lived on Earth, right? But if we placed a 6-foot-tall human next to an elephant, we'll see it's not at all that small. African elephants are bigger than their close relatives, Asian elephants, and they have a similar lifespan to humans, up to 70 years. Pokemon might have made us collectively wish that salamanders were real-life dragons, although they're not. They can still be pretty cool, though. There's a giant species of salamander that is known to be the largest living amphibian. They can grow to be as long as a regular-sized human, reaching up to 6 feet. I bet that wouldn't be a pleasant underwater encounter.
If you could dive right into the mysterious darkness of the ocean depths, who knows what you'd come upon? Legends that are hundreds of years old mention some giant sea monsters hiding deep down below the ocean waves, like the Kraken, the Loch Ness Monster, the Hydra, Leviathan, and so many more. Okay, no one has ever seen such monsters, but there are still weird and unusually big sea spiders, squid, worms, and many other animals that grew way more than we'd expected. Take a look at the colossal squid from sub-Antarctic waters. It's around 14 times longer than the arrow squid that lives near New Zealand. And deep down in the Pacific Ocean, there's a sea sponge as big as a minivan. Oceans contain about 96.5% of all water on our planet. Up to 80% of all life on Earth we've discovered is under the oceanic waves. We haven't explored, mapped, or even seen more than 80% of the ocean. In fact, we've mapped Mars better than we have the ocean bottom. The pressure down there is insane, and it would make you feel like you're holding up almost 50 jumbo jets. And temperatures at such depths are extremely low. Conditions deep below the oceanic surface are harsh, so creatures that live there need to adjust. That's why many of them grew very, very big to survive. Creatures that live in cold, dark depths are so big because of a phenomenon called deep sea gigantism. The deeper you go below the oceanic surface, the less sunlight there is. That's why the temperatures drastically fall. The result of this is increased cell size and longer life of creatures. Also, These creatures don't have as much oxygen as the marine animals that live in shallower parts, and their food sources are minimal. Much of the food they get comes from shallower waters, and only a little bit trickles down to the deeper parts. And when there's not enough food, being large is an advantage. Larger creatures can move farther and faster to find something to eat. Their metabolism works slower. They don't digest the food that fast, so they can store food and conserve energy for hard times when they can't find anything to eat. They don't need to regulate their body temperature either, which also helps them save some energy, which they can then transfer to other body processes. They mature more slowly and later than those living in shallow waters. The majority of fish species that dwell in deep waters live 30 years or even more. Orange ruffy fish, on the other hand, live up to 150 years. This fella grows 24 feet in length and weighs up to 1.5 tons. But it grows to be so big for centuries. They start looking for partners when they're 150 years old, and they can also live this long because there are not so many predators at such depths. Also, there are no humans or other things that can disturb them or endanger their existence. At such depths, the environment is pretty stable, so many animals there are like living fossils because they probably haven't changed in millions of years. The first 650 feet of the ocean's depth are considered to be the open ocean. The majority of the marine life we've discovered lives there, since that's the area the sun can still reach. And then, as you continue going deeper, you reach the twilight zone. It seems like nothing lives there. But at about 820 feet, you see a small oasis of ancient life blooming. For example, there are sea lilies, animals that have been living at such depths unchanged for millions of years. Coelacanths, another living fossil, have been living in the ocean for more than 360 million years. Hagfish haven't changed in a very long time either, for over 300 million years. This creature lives at depths of 5,500 feet. They evolved before the rest of the vertebrates, which is why this is the only living animal without jaws or a spine, even though it still has a skull. Deep-sea creatures can't survive in shallow waters. They've evolved to live in depths under bigger hydrostatic pressure. Humans and other organisms that have internal spaces filled with gas would end up crushed if we could go to such depths. That's why deep-sea divers always need to wear special dive suits designed for surroundings with higher pressure, even though they're not going that deep to the areas where these giants live. But near Antarctica, you can see gigantism way closer to the surface, like giant sponges, sea slugs, sea spiders the size of a dinner plate, worms, and even some enormous single-celled organisms. They all tend to chill in shallower waters. Scientists are not sure why exactly, but they think it could have something to do with oxygen. Giant species use just a little oxygen, and the waters around Antarctica are pretty rich in it, which means there's hardly any limit to these animals growing bigger and bigger. Back to deep-sea creatures. As mentioned, they had to adjust to strong pressure, so they almost don't have any air gaps in their body at all. They're mostly water-based, and since water is incompressible, which means it's not something you can compress, it helps them stay unaffected at such high pressure. But because of all that, if they were to go up towards the surface, they'd probably swell up, maybe even explode. Just look at the blobfish, the one that takes the title of the ugliest animal in the world. It looks normal deep down below the surface, where its natural habitat is. But when it gets up to the surface, where the pressure is 120 times lower, it changes its shape. The blobfish doesn't have a skeleton or muscles, so without high deep-sea pressure, it ends up being all floppy and saggy. The dark oceanic depths are not just scary to watch, but to listen to as well. In 1997, scientists were trying to find underwater volcanoes located off the South American coast. During their travels, they recorded one of the loudest noises ever registered. It was pretty weird, too. It was so loud, Even sensors from more than 3,000 miles away managed to pick it up. They later called it the bloop. It took them 15 years to conclude the sound came from an ice quake. That's when seismic activity breaks frozen ground. Water at the bottom of the ocean is not always extremely cold. There are hydrothermal vents on the seafloor, and the water that comes out of them can be up to 750 degrees Fahrenheit. Powerful pressure, yep, the same one that would crush you, is something that doesn't allow the water to boil. There are hundreds of animal species that live near deep-sea hydrothermal vents. Some of them, such as tube worms, are not like anything we have seen before. These worms absorb chemicals from vent fluids. That's how they feed bacteria that live in them. And in return, those bacteria give them the carbon the tube worms need to survive. 2/3 of all of the coral species scientists discovered live in dark, deep, and extremely cold parts of the ocean. Some even live in parts that are 3 miles deep. They can survive at low temperatures, such as 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Some of these cold water corals are more than 8,000 years old. They form amazing structures that can rise up to 115 feet tall. The deep is not just a mysterious world of unusual creatures. The landscape under the oceanic surface is magnificent too. The canyons hiding there make even the Grand Canyon seem small. For instance, check out the one located in the Bering Sea, the Jemchug Canyon. Its vertical relief is more than 8,500 feet deep. That's huge. The largest ocean waves are not the ones you can see from the shoreline. They occur under the surface, and they're called internal waves. They take place between two water masses that have different densities. They travel at speeds of thousands of miles per hour and can be 650 feet tall. Ah, it's a lovely day for a boat ride in the swamp. If not for these mosquitoes, then today would be perfect. But for some reason, the mosquitoes keep getting bigger the further you go into the swamp. They started out as tiny, almost invisible insects, and can now be the size of your thumb. You can hear their buzzing as they whiz past you. You go deeper to investigate why they're so big. Eventually, you see a large cluster of mosquitoes the size of your hand buzzing around. They notice you and start flying toward you. You grab a branch and start swatting them away. You run back to your boat and try to escape, but they follow you, and some manage to land on you. You swat them away, but more mosquitoes pop out of nowhere, the size of a basketball. You start your boat and speed your way back to the mainland. As you arrive, you see everyone running away in a frenzy, panicking because of the giant mosquitoes. Some of them are as big as a large dog. People are ducking under picnic tables, while some are running back to their cars and driving away. You get off the boat and run toward the closest grocery store, along with dozens of people. The employees lock up the gates, but the large glass panels show the mosquitoes multiplying. They're getting bigger and bigger until you can see one as big as a car zipping by. It's so strong that it landed on an empty car and crushed it. Everyone inside is ducking away out of fear. You try to calm everyone down and not make any noise. The mosquitoes are landing on the glass panel, blocking out the natural light. It's getting dark inside. Someone turns up the volume on the TV to the breaking news. Mosquitoes are flying rampant all across the continent, destroying natural resources and infiltrating cities. People are advised to stay indoors until further notice. The mosquitoes notice that there are people in the store, so they try to get in by force. A car-sized mosquito flies around in the sky, unaware of what's happening below. Everyone hears some noise coming from the back room. The employees realize they didn't lock the doors. A large mosquito enters and knocks down everything. Everyone runs around in a panic while throwing random stuff at it. Some people grab a fire extinguisher and spray it until it flies to the back room. Some employees lock the door and barricade it so that nothing can enter. Everyone waits nervously. The TV broadcasts some live coverage of how giant mosquitoes are flying everywhere. A helicopter is forced to land because the mosquitoes are flying around wildly in the skies. Everyone shudders when they hear the sound of more mosquitoes buzzing around near the back door. Hours pass, and more mosquitoes keep coming endlessly. There are no people outside, and much of the urban and landscape design in the park is destroyed or overrun by giant insects. Some people eat whatever is available, while some are sleeping. A piece of breaking news interrupts the live coverage and shows that there will be armored buses ready to pick up people near the picnic site. However, the buses won't drive to hotspots since it'll be too dangerous. The only way to get on them is by being on the highway in 2 hours. Everyone tries to call their loved ones, but the cell towers have been knocked down and no one can call anyone. The mosquito that broke in a while ago destroyed the only landline that was present. People are arguing about whether they should stay or go. More insects covered the only clear patches of the sky until the sun disappears. The people split into 2 parties, those who are leaving to catch the bus and those who want to stay. The employees know a back way that can quickly lead to the highway. The only problem is that it'll take around 20 minutes on foot, and there are no cars to use. The way is tricky. First, they would need to escape through the main entrance and head through the bushy forest behind the dumpsters. Over there, they can enter a building, possibly through the sewers, which will lead to the lake next to the highway. The first party decides to leave. They prepare supplies for the breakout. Every second, more mosquitoes arrive, covering the sky. They gear up with anything they can find to protect themselves. Mosquitoes are attracted to the carbon dioxide that people breathe out, and they know that there's a source coming from the grocery store. Once everyone is ready, they get some makeshift torches and light them up. They add some barbecue fuel to keep the fire going. You're part of the party that is planning to escape. The doors open, and everyone makes a break for it behind the dumpster. Many mosquitoes try to attack you, but the smoke from the fire repels them. Every second, more mosquitoes are filling the sky and the environment. Many people end up running back into the store since they couldn't make it past the dumpster to the other building. Eventually, the rest of the people, including yourself, run toward the building. But it's locked, and no one can break down the door. Plan B is to break the glass from a window and crawl inside. You grab a rock and smash the closest window. The only problem is that the mosquitoes can follow you inside. So without any options left, you pull through and run to the basement of the building to find the entrance to the sewer. Success! You found it, and everyone descends to the bottom. No mosquitoes in sight, just rats. You're walking knee-high in sewer water with it flowing past you, but it's only a few minutes until you reach the river. Another problem is that the sewer isn't going to the lake, but somewhere deep into the sewer channels. You follow it until you see what looks like an outlet. You make it out and are near a water hole where all the discarded sewage leads next to the swamp. The only problem is that you're not next to the highway anymore, and time is running out. More mosquitoes are swarming the air, but they don't bother buzzing next to you. You notice some cat-sized creatures floating on the water. These are baby mosquitoes, or the larvae, and they're coming your way. You and everyone else swim for your lives to the shore. The giant alpha mosquito soars into the air and swoops down to try and grab someone, but it misses. Everyone makes it to the thick, swampy area where no giant mosquitoes can enter. Everyone covers themselves with branches to protect themselves. 15 minutes until the armored bus arrives. Since the mosquitoes can't enter, this will be the best place to hide until then. Darkness falls, and still no bus. It's been 3 hours, and nothing. The mosquitoes are still buzzing around, and everyone is getting uncomfortable under the thick bushes. After a while, everyone hears a roaring engine and sees lights flashing on the highway. Everyone gets up and runs to the bus, but you stop them to not draw the mosquitoes' attention. You volunteer to sneak out and stop the bus, and then everyone else can follow without drawing too much attention. You move a couple of branches, step over some tree bark, and crawl to the highway. You try to hold your breath so that you won't make any heavy breathing sounds. You reach the side of the road and wave your arms to stop the bus. It pulls over and the door opens. You signal the rest of the people to follow, and they follow your lead. Everyone is inside and safe. Some mosquitoes notice and start pecking on the bus, but the armor is sturdy. The bus drives off, looking for other people along the road, and suddenly, a Goliath lands in front of you. The bus stops and sees a mosquito the size of a Boeing 747. It looks straight at you. It gets ready to attack, but the bus speeds under its legs and drives off. The mosquito takes off and tries to catch the bus, but you enter a tunnel to the other side of the mountain. After a few minutes, you reach an open area with no trees or buildings. The bus is speeding while dodging obstacles along the way. Finally, you notice you are near the grocery store where you were held up. The bus opens the door for everyone inside to be taken to a safe zone. You hear from the aid workers that the whole world is being overrun by these giant creatures. As you drive along, you see a hybrid mosquito that has 2 heads and a scorpion's tail. It's as tall as the Statue of Liberty, and it's ready to attack. Whatever is causing these mosquitoes to grow abnormally is also making them into hybrids and mutants. And you thought it was going to be a good Monday.